Hey, I'm Stuart Covey from Covey Woodworks, and in today's video we're doing a tutorial for a laptop stand out of plywood. Alright, so this stand is a very cool stand. Got it right here. It's got some geometric design to it. The plywood look just adds a lot to the look of the laptop stand. So nice round, smooth, cool triangle designs and stuff. As far as looks go, it's very good, but there's a couple factors that are going to really benefit you with a laptop stand like this. First of all, of course, the main reason is it moves your laptop up. It moves the screen for your laptop up about 7 inches to a more comfortable height if you're working at a desk. If you do a lot of work at a desk with a laptop, you're looking down at it, it's hard to use, it's uncomfortable on your neck and your eyes. But if you move that up, even just a simple 7 inches, it makes it so much more comfortable to look at. It makes it feel like you're looking at a real desktop screen and not working on a laptop. So that's the main feature of it. The second feature is the fact that it's got this cutout in the middle. So it's open in the middle, air can go through here, both sides, and in the middle here. And that allows that air to cool the laptop. The worst thing you can do to your laptop is restrict its airflow and cause the fans to work extra hard and eventually burn out. Just restricting the airflow to your laptop can significantly decrease the life of your laptop. So the laptop getting air is one of the most important parts of your laptop. If the laptop doesn't get air, it's going to eventually burn up, your CPU is going to get worn out. So having this open adds a lot to your laptop. It helps to get a good, nice airflow. It'll help it last longer. It'll cool it off a lot faster than if you have it on a desk or working on your lap or something. You can also see back here that it's got an open, it's about 1/2 inch under here, so air can come in through the sides right here, and it can come out the back here. So it has multiple spots to draw in air and cool the laptop. So that's another one of the main features for this laptop stand. Another feature is it's got a 17-degree angle right here where your keyboard and trackpad will be. And you can still use that to work on it. It makes it a little more comfortable than working on the desk. But I would suggest using an external keyboard or mouse if you're going to make this. These pockets come in really handy. You could stick hard drives in there. If you have external hard drives, if you use those a lot, you can stick them in there. Little accessories and stuff, whatever you want, you can stick in there and have it out of the way. If your laptop's on the desk, you can't stick anything underneath it. So having it up like this creates more room on your desk, essentially. This pocket's also big enough to fit the Apple keyboard. Your keyboard can slide in there. Another note about the stand is it's designed for the MacBook Pros, the 13-inch or the 15-inch. But you can use it with any computer. I'll have the dimensions on the DXF file that you can download. It has the dimensions of the surface area, so you can know if your laptop's going to fit. It doesn't have to be an Apple laptop. So another nice thing about this is if you're using external hard drives and stuff, you can stick them in here, and then these can act as handles. If you got to move your laptop, you just grab it like this, and you can move it wherever you want without worrying about your hard drives yanking out or anything, as long as you have them stuck in there. So that's another really nice thing about it. So it's also got little legs on the bottom here, little feet that lift the whole thing about 1/8 inch up off your desk. So it's not sitting on the desk, it won't grind any dust into the desk. And if you want, you can stick little felt pads or rubber pads on there if you want. So overall, this is a very cool design. I love it. This is the version for the 13-inch, and this here is the version for the 15-inch. It's 3 pieces wider, so a little bit wider and a little bit longer, so it'll fit the 15-inch. This is stained. I stained this with a dark walnut stain, so it's darker. I think I prefer the plain versus the stain. That's completely up to you. So you'll notice also on this 15-inch, it's got a little more of a triangle instead of just a hole, and that's just because the whole thing needed to be a little bit bigger. But the specifics are the exact same for this as far as what it does. So it still lifts the screen up 7 inches. It's still got a 17-degree angle on it. So pretty much the same thing there. So anyways, if you're interested, stay tuned, and we're going to start the tutorial on how to make this out of plywood. So the first thing you've got to do, as with anything, is to grab your designs, which are downloadable at instructables.com. If you're watching on Instructables, it should be downloadable right around this video. If you're watching this video on YouTube, I have the link to the how-to at Instructables in the description. So go and click on that. That'll take you over to my tutorial on instructables.com, and you can download it from there. So I've got a DXF file on there that has the 3 designs for the laptop stands. You'll notice there's 2 columns, one on the right that is for the 15-inch MacBook or a 15-inch laptop, and the column on the left for the 13-inch MacBook. Now or laptop. There's 3 designs for each one, and basically what those are is, one design is this outer piece, the general design of the stand. The other design is the piece in from this, which has same as the regular design, but it's got little feet cut out on the bottom, so that allows for the feet. And then the third design is these middle pieces, which basically just have this spot cut out to allow for airflow. So those are 3 pieces. You need to cut out different amounts of pieces per piece. So for these regular outside ones, you need 4. For the ones with the feet, you just need 2 pieces. And for the middle ones, you're going to either need 11 for the 13-inch stand or 14 for the 15-inch stand. So that's why there's 3 pieces. You've got to make sure you cut out the correct amount for each piece. And I came up with this little design here, just pattern basically. I wrote on it here, but I'll show it on the screen. Just a little pattern so I could get as many pieces as I could out of one sheet of plywood. I was able to cut out enough pieces for both the 15-inch and the 13-inch out of one 4x8 sheet of plywood with a little left over. So you can fit a good amount on one sheet of plywood, and I came up with this little pattern to fit as many pieces as I could on my sheet, but also cutting it down so I could fit them on my CNC machine. So I have different little squares here, I'm showing this on the screen right now, that I have a certain amount of pieces fit in, and then each of these squares I can cut out and fit on my CNC machine and cut them out from there. So if you want this, I don't have this downloadable, but if you want it, go ahead and email me at scoveywoodworks@gmail.com, and I can get that to you if you want that. Otherwise, come up with your own designs and just get the correct amount of pieces cut out in your CNC machine, and you'll be good. Alright, so we're here at the CNC machine. We've got our first piece here, so we're going to go ahead and mount this on and cut out our first pieces. Okay, so now that we have all our pieces cut fresh off the CNC machine, we've got to do a little bit of sanding to them. Okay, so when we sand these, we only need to sand a few things while they're in individual pieces like this. And those few things are the insides of all 3 pockets, just these 3 pockets right here. We got to make sure we get those nice and smooth, because once all the pieces are glued together, it's going to be hard to sand down inside there. So we want to sand the insides of these pockets that are going to be hard to reach now while they're easy to get to. And then we want to sand the bottom of our pieces. And we want to do this because when we glue all of the pieces together, we want them flat on a surface. So if there's burrs and stuff on the bottom, they're not going to sit even and the thing's not going to be completely flat. So we just want to sand the bottom of these just really quick to get any burrs off of it so they'll sit nice and flat. And then we want to get the edges. You see the edges here, they've got burrs on them. We just want to barely get those burrs off, but we don't want to round the edge at all. If we round the edge and then we glue them all together, there's going to end up being noticeable seams. So we just want to barely get the burrs off there without sanding down the edge at all. So that's important to get a nice smooth surface once they're all glued together. So those are the three things we need to sand: the inside of these three holes, the bottom so it'll sit flat, and the edges. So we'll worry about all these edges after it's all glued together, because then when we sand them, we'll make sure we'll be sanding all the pieces at once to get a nice flat surface. But for now, you don't need to worry about those edges until after they're glued up. Okay, so while I get started on that, I just wanted to say one thing about the settings that I had for my CNC machine when I cut out these parts. And so I cut out these all with a 1/4" bit. It was a 1/4" upcut bit, but that shouldn't really matter. And I had it running at about 100 inches per minute at 20,000 RPM. So those are the settings I had for that. I had it taking out, I had 4 passes for the 3/4" thickness of the plywood, so I did that in 4 passes. So I just want to let you guys know those settings in case you were wondering. Alright, so now we have all our pieces nice and sanded, nice and smooth, but they're not rounded over at all, so they're still going to give a good seam when they're up against there. So what we're going to do here is we have a little nail gun here, and we're going to use our inch long nails, and we're going to nail these together while we're gluing them also. So we're going to glue them and nail them, but when we get to our last pieces, this is the end piece, we're just going to glue it. We're not going to nail it, so we don't have any nail holes in it. So, but all the middle ones we're going to nail. So we're going to start with these kind right here, the middle ones. We're going to put together the 13-inch stand. Putting together the 15-inch stand is going to be the exact same thing, except you're going to have more of the centerpieces, 3 more centerpieces. So no difference there, except you can have a few more pieces. But anyways, let's get started. Let's set these aside. You notice what I did here is I put this piece here so I can set them all up. This is at a perfect 90-degree angle, so when I'm nailing them up, when I'm pushing them up against here, I know they're going to be perfectly square. And then I drew a line here that's at a 90-degree angle to this right here, so then I can know what the edge is. And I also have a square here so I can check it when I need to, make sure it all looks good, because we want to make sure this has a nice flat edges. So anyways, let's put some glue on here. Alright, piece of there. This first one's going to be pretty simple. Just make sure all the edges right here are nice and even on the insides, and both edges. Just put a few nails in it. Alright, and that's all we need to do. So now we're going to do our next piece. We'll glue that one on and nail it. And then when we finish, when we get all the pieces nailed and glued together, we will still stick some clamps on there to make sure it gets it nice and tight. So right now we're just nailing it, and we're going to do this all at once, so by the time we finish, the glue's still going to be wet and we can clamp it again. So let's do our next piece here. Alright, so now that we have the middle pieces together, and they're nice and square, if we hold it up to the line over here, and they're flat up against there, so we know it's a nice square structure. So now we've got to put our other pieces on. Now the way this is going is, if I have it in that DXF file there, is we have our regular pieces and our pieces with the legs. These are number 3 and these are number 1s. So on both sides of these, we're gonna have one of each of the regular ones. Then we're going to have the ones with the legs. Then we're going to have another set of the regular ones. So the bottom is going to have the legs in there. So let's go ahead and put the 2 regular ones on the ends. Okay, so now that we have both side number 1 pieces on, those are good. Now we can have our leg pieces. These leg pieces, since they have the legs coming out, we're going to have to just do them by hand as far as lining them up. So, I'm going to set this under there to lift it up. For this one, because you do it by hand, make sure you feel all the way around. Make sure everything feels smooth. There's no edges sticking out before you put your first nail in. And there we go, now our legs are mounted. If we turn it around, you see you've got a nice flat surface, but there's the little legs that are sticking out right there. Those will keep all of this off your desk and just be the 4 legs. So now we got to put our final pieces on, but we're not going to nail these because we don't want nail holes. So these are just going to be glued on there, and we'll put those on with the clamps. So for now, we're done with the nailer. As you can see, that's what it's going to look like when it's done. That's all the airspace for the computer when the computer's sitting on here. The legs for the computer will go right about here in these corners, and this will be open to allow ventilation for underneath the laptop. So let's get some clamps and we'll glue this on. Alright, so now that we've let them dry overnight, we can go ahead and take off the clamps and start sanding. So the sanding is completely up to you. You could sand it as much as you want or as little as you want. It depends on if you want a nice smooth finish or if you don't care as much. So it's completely up to you. If you want it smoother, you're going to have to spend more time. So I'm going to be using an orbital sander to get some of the places, and I'm going to use my stationary belt sander for the flat spots. So I'm going to use a variation of sanders just to get it as smooth as I can get it. The outside surfaces are going to be the most important because they're going to be the edges you're going to be able to feel the most. So those you're probably going to want to get nice and smooth. Inside the pockets and the triangles and stuff, you don't have to worry quite as much. I'd still try to get at least the outer edges that you're going to be able to feel if you pick it up or stuff, just to get it nice and smooth. So, but other than that, it's completely up to you. Sand it as much as you want. Alright, so now we have finished sanding, we have a really nice smooth finish. And you can feel it, touch it, it feels like one flat piece of wood. You can't even tell they're all pieces glued together. And it's nice and rounded and smoothed out. So that feels really nice. I spent probably only 30 minutes sanding this. So not too long, but I still have a really nice smooth surface. For these outer surfaces like this here, the front and the bottom and this side, I used my belt sander to get that nice and smooth. I have a stationary and a handheld. So I use both of those to get these really smooth, so they're perfectly smooth. Inside here, you've still got a few ridges and stuff, but that's mainly because I couldn't fit any electric tools in there, so I had to do that all by hand, and it's still nice and smooth, but you can still feel a few ridges in there. And that's just because I had to do it by hand, but you're not going to be feeling that, so you're never going to notice that, so that's still good. And the same thing inside your pockets. There's still a little, just feel a few ridges, but it's pretty good. And our bottom is nice and smooth, and we have our 4 legs sticking out right here. Something you're going to want to do is when you're finished sanding them, take this and put it on a flat surface, like one of your cast iron tools or something, and check that doesn't wobble at all. And if it does, sand that one leg down until it has a perfectly flat, doesn't wobble at all when it's on a perfectly flat surface, like one of your cast iron table saw or something like that. Then you know it's going to be perfect, because you don't want that to wobble at all when it's on a desk. And then also test it with a computer on here to make sure the computer doesn't wobble. It shouldn't if you had it on a flat surface when you glued it, but double check that because you don't want to be using something that's going to wobble. So now you can either finish it just how it is with a lacquer or shellac and get this normal light wood look, or you can stain it like I've been doing it right there. And I think staining is going to give it a lot better look, better color and all of that, but I'm going to leave this one how it is so you can see what each one looks like. Okay, so you're probably wondering how in the world I'm going to get the stain down inside here. I can't reach down there, I can't reach down in the holes. So I came up with this little tool right here to use for the stain. I can stick this inside there and stain the wood really easily. And this is really simple. This is just a little fluffy roller thing for the mini rollers that you can roll paint on. And this is just a bolt. I believe it's like 8 or 10 inches long. So what I did is I just drilled out the middle. I drilled out the plastic of this to fit the bolt, and I just screwed the bolt in. So now I have this foam thing that can hold a lot of stain, and I can stick it down inside those holes and sponge it right into the wood. So this worked really well, in case you were wondering how to get the stain down inside those holes. So just an easy trick. Alright, so after you're done sanding it and staining it, if you choose to stain it, you've just got to give it a finish. I gave my laptop stands 2 coats of shellac finish, and I used steel wool after each coat, so it gives it an extra nice smooth finish. You want to make sure you don't put too much of a finish on it. You don't want a glossy finish or a thick finish, because your laptop's going to be sitting on it all that time, and you don't want stuff from the finish getting on your laptop or anything. So just giving it just 2 light coats is enough for the plywood to soak in a good amount of the finish, because plywood does absorb a lot of finish, but not enough to really give it a layer of it. Just enough to give it a nice shine, seal it from oils and stuff, and cause the color to come out a little more. So, as I said in the beginning, I prefer the natural color of the plywood like this once it's finished and everything over the stained version. Now this is a really dark stain. This is a dark walnut, so it is very dark. I mean, it still gives a good look. I mean, I like the look, but to me, I prefer the plain plywood over the stain. But that's completely up to you. You can use a lighter stain, use whatever color stain you want, and get what you prefer for your desk. So that's that. So both those are finished with 2 coats of shellac, and that's how you make a laptop stand out of plywood. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll be able to make use of this laptop stand, and I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informational as far as what needs to be done to make these. So if anything doesn't make sense, leave a comment on my YouTube video. If you're here at Instructables.com, go ahead and go over to my video at my channel on YouTube at Covey Woodworks and find this video and leave a comment, because I will respond to this comment. So if you have a question, leave a comment on my YouTube video and I will answer it. So in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will make good use of this laptop stand. In the meantime, I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.